everybody, so I decided to do my weekly reading video a couple days early, primarily because they've been switching my days off at work, and it's usually a lot easier for me to do these when I'm off from work. So yeah, I am in a really big reading funk right now, you guys, and I hate it. I hate when this happens. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it drives me crazy. It feels like for every book that I managed to read, there was like 2 or 3 other ones that I just could not get into. For example, I tried to read Perchance to Dream by Lisa Mancheff, which is one of the books in the Theater Illuminata series, which is one of my favorite series, and I just could not focus on it. I picked up Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan, and even though I was enjoying the book, I just could not focus. It seemed like I had to read the same paragraph over and over and over again just to process it in my head. So I finally gave up on it for now. So I hate when this happens. It drives me nuts. But having said that, I did manage to read a few books this week. So the first book I read was called Red Heart Tattoo by Lurleen McDaniel. And this book was about a high school. The day before Thanksgiving, a bomb goes off at a football game, and a bunch of the students are killed, a bunch are injured, and it's about the aftermath of what happens. And unfortunately, I did not like this book that much. In fact, I really just didn't like this book. I felt the storytelling was very, very heavy-handed, very preachy, and I don't know, and the ending itself was very abrupt and sort of strange, so unfortunately I didn't really like it. But yeah, it doesn't come out until June. It was one of the NetGalley books that I've had for a really long time that I kind of forgot about, so yeah. The next book I read was Gone by Michael Grant, and this is a book that I was really looking forward to ever since I picked it up, and I'm sure everybody out there knows what it's about, but in case you don't, one day, everybody over the age of 15 disappears, just like vanishes instantaneously, and the children and the middle schoolers and the little preschoolers are left behind, and not only do the adults and older teenagers disappear, but they find this huge wall that kind of like divides the city, and it goes up as far as you can see, and it goes down into the ocean. And not only that, but the kids, some of them start to develop these powers, and the animals start to mutate. And of course, it just so happens there happens to be a nuclear power plant in town that may or may not have something to do with it. And this is a really big book. It's like almost 600 pages. And for about the first half, I really just loved this book. I was able to overlook the problems in the story that I had. But when they got to the talking coyotes, that's when I kind of, I would say pretty much from about like page 300 to about 450 or so, I really got frustrated with the book. Not just because of the talking coyotes, but there was just nonstop action in this book, and that's not always a bad thing. I love action in books as much as anybody, but if that's all there is for a big chunk of a really big book like this, it gets kind of overwhelming. And there were so many characters, and I was trying to figure out and try to keep everybody straight in my head, and it was hard at times. But overall, I did actually enjoy this book. It's just from like I said, about halfway through to about maybe 400, 450. It kind of got on my nerves. The ending was really well done, and I'll definitely be reading the second book. It's just, yeah. Yeah, so this was good, just not as good as I was hoping, unfortunately. So, yeah. Okay, so the next book I read, I don't have to hold up to show you because I actually loaned it to a friend of mine at work, and it was a book that I got for review from the author, and it was called Brian's Brain by Brian Healy. And this was a book of humorous essays about Brian growing up. and it was a really, really, really enjoyable read. I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. There were many times when I was laughing out loud while I was reading it, and he tells all these stories about when he was a kid and how he was obsessed with the movie Back to the Future, and he wanted to build a spacecraft out of his mother's minivan, and other stuff like wanting to buy his own mountain, and his greatest obsession in life, which is to someday open a dinosaur theme park. And yeah, it was really, really great. And I did a written review for my blog about it, and yeah, so it was awesome. And it's available on Amazon as an ebook or paperback, so I definitely suggest you guys check it out if you like essays and nonfiction and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good. Okay, so the next book I read was This Is Not a Test by Courtney Summers. And I did a very erratic, rambling video review of this book, and I will leave a link to it in the drop-down box if you haven't watched it and you'd like to. So I'm going to keep this very short and sweet. This was an awesome, awesome book. I've already put it in my Best of 2012 folder. It comes out on June 19th, 2012, and I will be pimping this book as much as I possibly can the closer it gets to release day. So yes, it's awesome. It's about zombies, the end of the world, this group of teenagers that are barricaded in this high school, and one of the main character of Sloane was planning on killing herself, and now she finds herself in the middle of the end of the world among these 5 people who are just so incredibly desperate to try and find a way to stay alive. And this is just a phenomenal book. Yeah. Okay, the next book I read was called Wonder by R.J. Palacio. I hope I'm saying that right. This is another book that I got off of NetGalley, and it is the story of a boy named August who is 10 years old, and he was born with a facial deformity. And at the very beginning of the book, it's told through various points of view, but his point of view starts and ends the book. And he says that he's not going to describe what he looks like, because anything you could come up with, it's worse than that. And we don't actually get a description of what August looks like until the POV shifts to his sister. This book is about, he's 10 years old, and his parents decide that it's time for him to go to an actual school. Before then, he had been homeschooled by his parents, by his mother, and they decide they're going to send him to this private school, and this is about a year in the life of him going to the school, and about making friends and people treating him differently. And it's such a sweet, beautifully written, simple, wonderful, wonderful story. It's something that I think everybody should read, because, he's such a sweet, wonderful, wonderful character. And it comes out on February 14th, so highly, highly recommended to anybody who reads YA fiction and YA to middle grade fiction, because it's a wonderful book. Yeah, I'm running out of words to adequately describe these books when I like them. Have you noticed that? Yeah, I need to get myself a thesaurus, I think. As for what I'm planning on reading and what I'm going to attempt to read, I was going to read Empty by Suzanne Wen, but I figure since I just finished This Is Not a Test yesterday. But anyway, this is like a dystopian, and I don't really like to read the same kind of books over and over again because I don't want to get burned out. So I don't know, I might wait until next week to try and read this one. I started this one. This was another one of the ones that I started this past week, and I just cannot focus. I got about 86 pages into it, and I was just like, I can't, because I have no idea what I just read. It just wasn't sticking in my brain. So I will do my best to try and finish reading this book, second book in the Iron Fae series. And the book I'm going to try and start today is The Future of Us by Jay Asher and Carolyn Mackler, and I've wanted to read this for a long time, and I've had it sitting on my shelf for a while, so it's pretty much different than anything else I've tried to read, the past few weeks, so hopefully I'll be able to get into it. And as always, if you guys have any kind of book recommendations, I'm always willing to accept them. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for putting up with my little whining and moaning rant that I seem to have gone on with today. So I'll talk to you guys later, and happy reading.